Hi there, I'm actually going to stop my video so that the quality is a little better. We have some unstable internet here. So as Missy said, our organization works on water quality issues and education along the Passaic River. And the challenge that we face with students coming to us for programming is to have them understand how biological and environmental understanding can be applied to real world situations. So in developing this program, we want students to really observe closely, to relate the importance of what they see to the question that they're trying to answer, and to make connections with the natural world, especially as most of our students are coming from urban underserved communities, and this is often their first time in the scary woods. Next slide. So we will take students from site or another piece of open space. And as soon as they are off the bus, we are working to help them understand where they're at, what's going on in terms of biological processes. So we start with the premise that they are field scientists. I'm a field ecologist by training, so we want to expose them to non-lab scientists as potential occupations. And the problem or premise that we have is that we have limited time and resources to make a decision on which of many possible properties will work to purchase and preserve. And they will be making a rapid ecological assessment of this parcel. And that's something that we do as an organization in real life. So we really can relate it to what we're doing as an organization with limited resources. So they have around 90 minutes or more to conduct their assessment and then present their findings. And they'll use both qualitative and quantitative means to make their determination of the value of the property. So we're looking to build understanding of the kinds of values that open space provides. And to get, you have a house, what's it worth? How would you assess the house's economic value? And what kinds of attributes are you looking at? So for example, with a house, they might be looking at location. They're looking at, the desirability or the uniqueness of the neighborhood, the connection to other amenities. And in assessing natural habitats and natural areas, we're doing things in a very similar way. So it's easy to know what a parcel's dollar value is when it's going to be a development site, or a forest's value when it's going to be cut for timber, but how much is it worth to leave the site as is? And these intrinsic values are the ecosystem functions and services that a site provides. Next slide. So to guide students, they use just very basic pieces of field equipment, binoculars, measuring tapes, magnifiers, and simple worksheets. And depending on the class we're teaching, we might tailor the focus to either or aquatic values or to a particular environmental variable, or to a subject that they're in the classroom. And some schools will choose to split their class into teams, with each team looking at a particular value of the site and then reporting back, much as real teams of scientists might divide fieldwork. And that's another real world connection. So for example, here, the students are measuring the diameter of a tree and identifying its species. And then they can use simple online tables to calculate the amount of carbon dioxide that's absorbed and stored as carbon. So seeing the amount of sequestration, the amount of carbon storage that this forest or this parcel is providing. And next slide. No, next slide. Yeah, there we go. So this is an example of a younger age ecological assessment. And what they're doing is simply observing and recording what they see using just a simple scoring system. And at the end, they'll tally their score and get this idea of a value of the site. So you can see here that, the question asks, are the different layers of the canopy present, right? And they'll just check presence or absence of each of those different canopy layers. And we understand as ecologists that intact forests with different age classes and layers offer more habitat for wildlife. They tend to be more diverse. They're, full of broader species richness. They're more invasive species resistant. And so they're processing and filtering more stormwater. So in their assessment, all those layers being present relates to a higher score, relates to more ecosystem function, and determines that this site is offering more value, for want of a better. Word. So students might have learned about how to observe creatures themselves and determine what they could eat and put that together. And then finally, they'll assess which functions the site is fulfilling. So, is it used for recreation? Is it providing pollinator services? Is it storing or filtering or improving water quality? And so last slide, at the end of the assessment, they will score the property. They'll use a couple of their findings to determine the value of the site in a ranking, and then be able to verbalize and defend their decision making. So it's a successful program for us because it relates observation to real life decision making, and students can see how understanding more about these processes and articulating these values can really help us to value open space and how it's working for us. And then we can add in the social justice component by looking at where currently preserved lands are in New Jersey and comparing the need for open spaces in urban areas. So I'll take questions at the end and pass it back to Missy.